Hey there, welcome back. So when I was moving to Milwaukee about 15 years ago and everybody at work was telling me how great Milwaukee is, I was definitely wondering, what are some of the bad things that nobody's telling me about? Don't get me wrong, Milwaukee has a lot of good things going on for itself. The city has been reinventing itself over the last decade or so. Over $6 billion in construction spent alone in the downtown area, and it's getting kind of cool. The people are friendly, cost of living is relatively low, there's always a ton of things to do. We have actually a really great food scene here in Milwaukee, but like everything else in life, it's not always rainbows and butterflies. Living in Milwaukee has definitely some disadvantages, and that's what I want to talk about today. Today I want to go over the 10 biggest downsides about living in Milwaukee and give you my personal take on them. When it comes to pros and cons, of course, it's always a matter of personal perspective. What is a big deal for one person is not a huge concern for someone else, so you decide. In the second half of the video, I will comment on some issues that you may have seen online that are, in my opinion, maybe a little bit of a misconception or just not reality anymore. But let's start with one that is definitely an issue for most of us, and that is number one, winter in Milwaukee. Most people don't like winter for a good reason. It is cold, the days are short, and it lasts way longer than we would like it. Snow and ice have definitely an impact on your daily commute to work. The good news is that Milwaukee has a fleet of heavy snow removal equipment to get the roads cleared, usually before morning traffic starts. And in the last years, we have not gotten as much snow as we used to, especially this year. As of mid-February, we only had a few light dustings, and somehow we missed every major snowstorm. So you're driving on dry roads a lot more than on snow, but it's still winter and it's still cold. If you want to see more about winter in Milwaukee, I have made a whole video about what winter looks like here and also some tips on how to best deal with it, and I will put a link at the end of this video. Issue number two, old houses. If you move here from a part of the country that has recently seen a lot of growth and new construction, you might be surprised how old most houses are in Milwaukee. Almost 85% of the inventory are 40 years or older, many of them 100 years old. Milwaukee had two major building booms, one in the 1920s and one in the 1960s, and that is where most of our inventory is from. While old homes have a ton of curb appeal and they're usually well built, they tend to be smaller and less open. And it can cost a lot of money to fully update an entire house to modern standards. So be aware, if you want a new single-family home, you will not have too many choices and you will be on the outskirts of the city. Issue number three, Milwaukee is pretty flat. Maybe this is already obvious to you, but there are no mountains around Milwaukee, not even hills. If you're moving here from Chicago, you may say no big deal, but I grew up near the Alps in Austria and I love the outdoors. So for me personally, not having mountains close by to go hiking or skiing is definitely a negative. A big part of Wisconsin has been bulldozed flat by the glaciers during the last ice age. And we're not complaining because they also carved out the Great Lakes, but it makes for a pretty flat landscape around here. If you go an hour west of Milwaukee, you get to the driftless part of Wisconsin, where you find rolling hills, inland lakes, and a lot of opportunities to enjoy the outdoors. But in the Milwaukee metro area, it is pretty flat here. Alright, quick sidebar. Some issues, like winter weather for example, affect everybody the same way. But other issues, like home prices or taxes, depend a lot on which side of town you are, and they cannot be generalized. And for that reason, let me give you a quick geographic overview. The Milwaukee metro area consists of 4 counties. There is, of course, Milwaukee County, and then there are the 3 surrounding WOW counties. We have Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington County. Combined, they're home to about 1.6 million people. Every county breaks down into multiple municipalities. Milwaukee County, for example, has 19 municipalities in total, and one of them is the city of Milwaukee, also referred to as Milwaukee proper, with a population of about 600,000. And then you have 18 other municipalities like Shorewood, West Allis, Wauwatosa, just to name a few, all also within Milwaukee County. So there's roughly 1 million people that will tell you they are from Milwaukee, but technically they don't live in the city of Milwaukee. Many of the statistics and headlines that you find about Milwaukee refer actually to the city of Milwaukee or Milwaukee proper. If you want to learn more about individual neighborhoods or municipalities, you can look up all sorts of statistics and ratings on websites like niche.com or neighborhoodscout.com. Alright, moving on to number 4, high property taxes. Okay, so this is a hot topic for anyone who owns property in Milwaukee County specifically. According to taxrate.org, Milwaukee County collects on average over 2% of fair market value in property taxes, which makes it one of the highest in the US. And that also creates an incentive for people in the Milwaukee area to live in the surrounding counties. However, there is a little bit more to that story. Most cities in the US create about half of their operating budget from income tax and from sales tax. Milwaukee cannot do that because of a Wisconsin state law, but they still have to fund their operating budget. This is why property taxes are so high. Looking for an example, Chicago's sales tax is 10.25%, almost double of Milwaukee's 5.5%. Naturally, people have sticker shock when they get the property tax bill, but forget that they save a lot on sales tax and on income tax. So overall taxation per capita is actually quite low, but property taxes in Milwaukee definitely sting. Issue number 5. Lake Michigan is actually ice cold. Milwaukee is literally cool because of the lake. The huge mass of cold water is a major contributor to Milwaukee's cool spring. It just takes a while for all that ice water to warm up. Proximity matters. A few miles further inland on Milwaukee's west side, the trees already green up in spring while the lakefront is still chilly. On the flip side, a lot of the older homes along the popular lakeshore do not have AC because, as the old saying goes, cooler by the lake. Milwaukee has several great sandy beaches, and while the lake is great for boating and salmon fishing, you will notice that until late summer, not too many people are swimming, simply because the lake is just too cold. By the way, if you have already moved to Milwaukee or you grew up in Milwaukee, please share your personal perspective. What is your experience? What do you think are the biggest downsides of living in Milwaukee? Please share your thoughts and your opinions in the comment section below. Alright, now for part 2, as promised, let's get into some issues that you may have seen online, but that are actually a little bit more debatable and I personally would take with a grain of salt. Number 6, is Milwaukee really dirty and polluted? While every city has to deal with trash and pollution, a lot has changed in the last decades. Fresh water has become a major focus in Milwaukee. The Deep Tunnel project, for example, has drilled 19 miles of tunnel under the city to capture stormwater and to protect Lake Michigan from runoff. Milwaukee is also a recognized leader for freshwater research, and UWM has a program for freshwater science. Trash and litter have been another big topic here. In 2019, Milwaukee increased the fines for littering to a whopping $500 in an effort to make the streets a lot cleaner. Milwaukee also has a lot of parks and green spaces, combined over 3.3 million trees that cover about 21% of the area. So we have a lot going on, and while I would not call Milwaukee a perfectly clean city, it has come a long way from its Rust Belt days back in the 1960s. Number 7, does Milwaukee have a good job market? So this is an old perception that you still hear about. As of January 2022, unemployment in Wisconsin has hit an all-time low of 2.8%, which is even below national average. So where is that perception coming from? Milwaukee had a tough past as an industrial town. Between the 1960s and 80s, we have lost manufacturing jobs by the 10,000s, but a lot has changed in the last 40 years. Of course, there are still issues and not everybody has a job, but by and large, Milwaukee has developed a very diverse mix of job opportunities, from financial services to medical to engineering and technology, that provides a very robust job market. We are actually headquartered to 14 global companies, and we have been named one of the top 25 places for doing business in the US. Number 8. Bugs and mosquitoes. So this is a topic that you may have also seen online, but I personally think it's not that big of a deal. Yes, we do have mosquitoes in the summer, but not like I've seen it down south. They usually come out after the sun sets, and if you don't have bug spray on, you'll probably get bit a few times. How bad it can get changes from year to year. Last summer, for example, was like mosquitoes got all wiped out by COVID. We had only very few. We will see what this summer brings, but in the grand scheme of things, people in Milwaukee do not have to worry a lot about poisonous snakes, spiders or scorpions. We do get some mosquitoes and ticks, especially in the woods, so some bug spray is probably a good idea. Number 9. College parties. You may have seen comments online about noise from college kids and their parties. I would say that is a local issue at best and typically just close to campus and some well-known party streets. Milwaukee has a very strong education system. It is home to 12 colleges and about 100,000 college students combined, which makes it one of the top-ranking cities in the nation. And college kids certainly like to party here, just like everywhere else, but in my experience, for the most part, this happens relatively orderly, and as long as you don't live near campus, you probably won't hear that much about it. I wanted to end this video on a somewhat lighter note, so here we go, number 10. Some say the dating scene is small and the nightlife is boring. Depending on your reference point, I would say there might be some merit to this. People are not exactly moving to Milwaukee because of the crazy nightlife. And your dating experience, well, that depends on you. But with 1.6 million people in the metro area, I would say you have a reasonably good chance to finding a date for Friday night. The city may not have an abundance of hot and trending nightclubs, but it definitely makes up for that a little bit, at least with its many bars and breweries, and let me add, a lot of great restaurants. There is definitely a seasonal difference in Milwaukee's nightlife. People don't go out as much during winter. But you can definitely see everybody wants to make up for lost time in the summer, and there is basically an uninterrupted chain of festivals, parties and events all summer long. Look up Milwaukee Summerfest, you'll get the idea. So there you have it. These were my personal top issues to consider before moving to Milwaukee. I hope you have gained some perspective. There are certainly some downsides, but Milwaukee has not been named the most underrated city in the Midwest by Vogue magazine for no reason. For more videos about Milwaukee and its neighborhoods, check out my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you at the next one.